I'm Monsignor Charles Minon.
And I'm Sean Huiskamp. Welcome to this edition of Reel to Reel.
Sean, do you believe in miracles?
Well, why don't you ask me if I believe in Santa Claus? After all, it is the Christmas season.
Well, that's a nice idea, but we don't have a story on Santa Claus. However, we do have a story on miracles.
And one about football. It's a behind-the-scenes look at the life and work of Don Shula, head coach for the Miami Dolphins.
Our other story will take us up north to learn about Brother Andre Bassett, who is known as the Miracle Man of Montreal. In the short subjects, Liz Andre will be along with a review of the movie Tex. And in our Do You Know segment, Father Walt Nolan will help us get into the holiday spirit. A few months ago, Reel to Reel showed you a story of another side of Jim Murray, the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. Tonight we have a football story from the same personal perspective, only this time it's from the coach's view. Sit back and meet Don Shula of the Miami Dolphins.
He was Coach of the Decade in the 1970s. He has 2 Super Bowl victories to his credit. He is the winningest active coach in the National Football League. He is Don Shula, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, a man who sees determination, drive, discipline, and faith in God as important elements of his professional and private life.
Well, I think that there for a time I was a daily communicant. I started the day off with Mass and Communion every day, and I still try to do it whenever possible. What I try to do is to lead my life so that if there are some people that are looking for a role model or an example, that they can find it in the way that I try to conduct my lifestyle. My mom and dad were the old-fashioned Catholics, and I started in the Catholic grade school and the catechism and the nuns and the discipline and everything that goes with it. And then, of course, going to a Jesuit university, John Carroll in Cleveland, Ohio, which tries to give you the well-rounded education and with a religious background, certainly. I learned a great deal there. And being in athletics all your life, there's so much preparation and hard work and competition. And I think that the religion is just sort of a natural thing that fits in there too, where if you feel like you're preparing and doing everything that you can do to prepare and you're leading the right kind of life, that you think that perhaps maybe things will go well for you when the competition starts. You feel so much better about yourself when you know that you've done everything that you can possibly do to prepare for the competition. And this is leading your life the way that you think that it should be led, and this is doing the things in the classroom and doing the things on the practice field that have to be done in order to prepare. So I think that all of these things are a factor in believing the way that I believe.
Don Shula knows a great deal about competition and, through it, success. In his 19-year coaching career, Shula has led both the Baltimore Colts and the Miami Dolphins to phenomenal achievements. 5 times in his career, he has built 10-game winning streaks. No one else in the NFL has done that more than twice. His Dolphins have either won or shared first place in the AFC East Division 9 times in 12 years. And of course, they've won the coveted Vince Lombardi Trophy twice as victors in the NFL Super Bowls of 1973 and 1974. Shula has over 200 career victories as a coach and was the first to reach the 100-win mark in his first decade as a head coach. Coaching has its frustrations and its times of trial. But under Don Shula, the Dolphins also have the distinction of being the least penalized team in the NFL for the last 6 seasons.
I think that the most important thing that can be said about you is that you do the things that you're responsible for doing, and you handle yourself with some class. As a coach and as a human being, I've tried to live and play within the rules, as opposed to being noted for being devious or trying to win outside of the rules, or always skirting the, what's right and what's wrong. And I've tried to do that as a human being and as a football coach, and I hope that someday when people are looking back and things are said and written, that the word class somehow enters into it.
The fair play and precision that mark the Dolphins are corollaries to Coach Shula's formula for success.
Well, first of all, I think hard work equals success, and that's really a simple equation, but it's worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of the players that I'm responsible for. And I encourage that. I don't think that there's any magic carpet ways to win championships. And I think that you get out of it about what you put into it, and this is what I try to encourage my players to believe and to try to do. I think that we're all put here to do the best that we can with the ability that God has given us, and I think that anything less than doing that would be not doing what we're created to do. However, with success comes responsibility. And that's the responsibility to do as much as you can for the people that are around you, the people that are trying to accomplish, that need some help. You should be willing to help them, as opposed to being selfish and not telling the secrets of the success that has helped you along the way. As far as the community, I think that everybody that's successful financially is obligated to try to do the best that they can to help people that are underprivileged and need help. And everybody has to answer that in their own way.
It is the nature of a successful professional football coach to be consumed by football. But Shula is also a devoted family man. He has regrets about sacrificing a part of his private family life for his profession, but his example is still there, he hopes, for his family to observe and emulate.
I think without a doubt, the toughest sacrifice that I have to make as a person in my position is the sacrifice of giving up time with your family, especially in the period of growth. There was a time where we had 5 teenagers all at the same time. My oldest, David, at that time was 19, and my youngest, Michael, was 13. And then 3 girls, Donna and Sharon and Annie in between. And 5 teenagers around the house demands a lot from both the parents. And I wasn't able to do my part of what I should have been doing around the house at that time because of the demands of the profession. Coaching is a 7-day a week, 16 hours a day job once the season starts in training camp. So you've got to have somebody strong to help you take up the slack, and fortunately Dorothy has been able to do a lot of these things. It's put a tremendous amount of pressure on her, and both Dorothy and I try to raise the children Catholics, and we just try to encourage communication and try to lead them along the right paths and then let them make their own decisions. And I don't believe in wearing my religion on my sleeve or trying to convert everybody that comes along, and I'd rather have them come to me, or if they're looking for somebody to set an example, I hope that I'm leading a life that will set an example for people that are looking for that.
Well, Coach, for your own family and for us Dolphin fans, your example should do very nicely. Thank you.
Although the Miami Dolphins have so far outpaced our own Philadelphia Eagles in this strike-shortened season, you can't help but wish a guy like Don Shula a lot of success both on and off the field. Coming up in the Arts Review, critic Liz Andre has a story on the film Tex. And Father Walt Nolan in the Do You Know series has some very interesting holiday thoughts for us. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Liz Andre, and this week on Arts Review, we'll take a look at the motion picture Tex. Tex is a sensitive and insightful Walt Disney production which is receiving rave reviews from the critics across the country. Unfortunately, it is not selling well at all in the box office. With Tex, we can see that sometimes the best films are not always the biggest, and a good film can sometimes get lost in the million-dollar ad campaigns. The main characters have a living arrangement every kid dreams about. Two teenage brothers with a house all to themselves. Young people don't enjoy being taught by their parents to be responsible, but when you're on your own, you have to be very responsible. Cooking meals, paying bills, everything. The film Tex illustrates the struggles of the two brothers to be responsible young adults. Learning to accept responsibility is often a long procedure for young teenagers. Tex, played by Matt Dillon, is only 15. His biggest concerns are school friends and his horse Rowdy. Tex can't understand that the horse had to be sold to pay bills. He's hurt and vows revenge on his brother.
Where are them horses?
Told you already, I sold them. I don't know why you think I'd start lying to you this late in life. Don't you ever close doors? No wonder I can't pay the gas bill.
Who'd you sell them to?
I ain't gonna tell you. Those people bought a horse. They didn't pay to have some kid come bothering them.
Mace, Rowdy's mine. You just can't sell something that isn't yours.
You can't live on no money either. They got a good home. I made sure of that. Now they're gone, so shut up about it.
Mason, you just better get those horses back.
I ain't getting them back. We couldn't have kept feeding them much longer anyway. Either they would have starved to death or we would. So just shut up about it.
You get those horses back.
I ain't getting them back. Texas, you better quit it.
Tex can't see that living up to responsibilities may mean sacrifice. Being responsible also means a willingness to work hard. Tex thinks of school as a place to play practical jokes. Mason, played by Jim Metzler, is 3 years older than Tex. He's the big brother and surrogate father rolled into one. Some people are responsible to a fault. That's Mason.
You know you're strong, Tex, but you never could fight with a dam. Come on.
I'm gonna get my horse back.
You ain't gonna find him, I told you.
If Pop was here, we'll let you sell him.
If Pop was here, I wouldn't have had to sell him. That's the point.
He's like the hard-working parent who forgets something vital, to say, I love you, and pay attention to the emotional needs of the family. Tex is confronted by sex, drugs, and crime among his schoolmates in the film. However, he learns to consider responsibilities to others instead of just acting on impulse. Tex finally forgives Mason for selling his horse Rowdy. He comes to want what's best for his brother, rather than revenge. By the end of the movie, Tex has a job. He's responsible for taking care of what he enjoys most, horses. Mason forgives Tex for his vengeful actions. He realizes there is more to Tex than just a little kid to be taken care of. Supporting family takes love as well as money. Mason also learns the importance of responsibility to himself, his own needs and desires, and that helps him to become a better brother to Tex. Too much self-sacrifice only leads to resentment. Tex is a thoughtful, sensitive film from the Walt Disney Studios. Both children and adults will find it worth seeing. It may reappear in some of the smaller theaters for brief periods of time. I heartily recommend this insightful drama of adolescence for all ages. Tex is rated PG. I'm Liz Andre, and that's this week's Arts Review.
Hi, I'm Father Walt Nolan, and welcome to Do You Know? The Christmas season is a time when it elicits thoughts about coming home. In fact, in my own mind, I think of the times I've been away from home, times I've been in service and had to sit down with some other soldiers and make a home away from home. It also raises in many minds the thought of coming home to the church. Some at this time of the year ask questions. How easy would it be to get back to the church? How easy would it be to get back to the family of God, to the family of church? Are confessions difficult? Would I have to relearn a lot of the things that I learned before and had forgotten since I have not gone back to church? Those questions really are answering the gift of God's call to those who would like to come back home to His church. Getting back to the family of God is not as complicated as one might think. In fact, what we're really talking about is God's grace and God's call to us. God first loved us, and that love is constant. And His love and calling to us has been a gift. and He's called us out of the gentleness of His own heart, a gentleness that shares love and compassion. The church has always spoken in terms of the fact that one can come back if they have left the church. You know, way back in the year 251, there was a heresy called Novatianism. And at that time, people thought that during the persecution, if one denied their faith, they could never come back to that faith. And the church has said and still says that that's not true, and that really would be a heresy. That all we really need to do is have a heart that feels God's love and a heart that feels the repentance and the call back home. If you have some thoughts in your heart about coming home to the church, I really would suggest that you contact a priest that you would feel comfortable with in sharing some of your ideas and thoughts with. If you don't know a priest yourself, maybe you can ask one of your friends what priest would be comfortable with you. The most important thing, however, is that you feel God's gift of love in your heart and you want to express that gift back to yourself. The rest is really easy, and leave it up to the compassion and the gentleness of a priest through our Lord Jesus Christ. If anyone has any further questions, please send them to me, Father Walt Nolan, care of Do You Know Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, zip code 19103.
Each year, thousands of people travel to Canada in search of a miracle, and they come with one thing in mind, the spark, which is the form of the miracle before it becomes one, and that which sets them on their search, their belief. In this case, their faith and their belief is in the miracle man of Montreal.
Twentieth century saints are uncommon phenomena. But here in Montreal, a city with churches and scenery reminiscent of old Europe, the reputation of Brother André Bessette as the miracle man of Montreal lives on. His memory has helped transform the Olympic Stadium into a cathedral. 50,000 people recently gathered here to celebrate his beatification, the necessary step before sainthood. Father Bernard Lafreniere is the Canadian promoter for the cause of Brother André's canonization.
To me, saints are friends, friends that are living with God, that are also interested in what's going on today. They are very much interested in my projects, in my efforts, in problems that I may find.
Because Brother Andre is such a friend, this liturgy stands out as a witness to the appreciation Catholics feel for their saints.
I have been in charge of Brother Andre's cause for 10 years now, and I feel that he has become a personal friend. You know, when you read so much about him, all what his witnesses have said, very good friends of his did say about him, and this man is a fascinating human being. He was very simple, but he was witty, he was quick-minded, he had a very sound judgment, very keen sense of humor.
Born in 1845, about 30 miles southeast of Montreal, Brother Andre was left an orphan when he was 12 years old. Frail health kept him from holding on to a good job and from entering the Holy Cross Brothers until he was 25. Father Henri Paul Bergeron lived with Brother Andre and later wrote his first biography.
He was very simple, and he was glad to make some jokes with his friends, and he was always in good humor, and you know, was very, very simple man. I met him few times, and he used to be with us at the breakfast. Sometime I gave him his coffee, and the next morning he came to me. I was a young priest, and he bring me my coffee too.
He became the porter at Notre Dame College in Montreal, where he visited the sick and encouraged them to pray for St. Joseph's intercession. Many were cured, and as word of this traveled, he could no longer remain at the college as porter.
Brother Andre always had a lot of friends, and these people wanted a small chapel to be built on the slope of Montreal so that the sick people would have a place to come and pray with Brother Andre. And Brother Andre himself, of course, wanted this small chapel to be built in honor of Saint Joseph because he loved very much Saint Joseph.
Brother Andre's reputation as the miracle man of Montreal continued to spread, and construction began on this magnificent church, St. Joseph's Oratory. It was not completed until 1967, 30 years after Brother Andre's death.
Each year, about 2 million people come to St. Joseph's Oratory, and surveys have shown that fairly accurate sociological profile of the population is represented here at the shrine. Youth, students, doctors, people from every walk of life come here to St. Joseph's Oratory.
Visiting the United States is Brother Andre, better known as the Miracle Man of Montreal, on tour to raise money for a new shrine.
The story of a candidate for sainthood is not usually available through movie footage, photographs, and personal witness. Certainly, Brother Andre's 20th century life makes his saintliness more accessible.
Most families of Montreal, a member experienced something with Brother Andre. So they all felt that they knew him personally, and this is why so many people came when he died. And even today, people remember what Brother Andre has done for a grandmother, for an aunt, for themselves, for those who are still living. Brother Andre was resting in state during 7 days and nights. And during these days and nights, people would keep filing past his coffin. It was printed in the papers at the time that over 1 million people came to see him because they felt that they had lost a friend who over the years had helped thousands of people to go beyond their sufferings and to find a new hope and a new light in their lives.
People still need new hope for their lives, and so they come to the oratory to light candles as symbols of their prayers and to ask for favors of God through the intercession of St. Joseph and Brother Andre. They visit his tomb to make requests of the man who has brought so many miracles to Montreal.
Of course, the church cannot prove miracles. That would be to prove the very existence of God. Therefore, a miracle is considered as a sign from the Lord, and it is perceived only in the faith of the believers.
Brother Jacques Bertzion became a Brother of Holy Cross because he was cured of osteomyelitis with Brother Andre's help.
At the age of 3, I fell from the sidewalk and I broke my hip. And after that, I was sick from 3 to 5. At 5, I was nearly dead when I came to Brother Andre. And my father and my mother asked to cure my back. And at that time, he told me, wash your back with the water from the dishes. And at that time, at the age of 5, I could walk with crutches. And between 5 and 9, I went several times to see Brother Andre to cure me completely. And at the age of 9, he cured me, and he brought back my crutches to the artery.
Crutches are not the only testimonials to Brother Andre's miracles. Mr. Joe Adino from Rochester, New York, had lymph cancer 24 years ago. He prayed to Brother Andre, and now, according to Dr. Philip Rubin, his physician, there is no trace of cancer.
My main hope in treating him was to palliate him. I wasn't really thinking in terms of an actual long-term cure. And in fact, when we try to reproduce some of the things that we did with him and other patients, it clearly didn't work.
After considering many of the cures attributed to Brother Andre, Pope John Paul II enrolled his name on the calendar of saints during this beatification ceremony in Rome on May 23, 1982.
And now, before we leave Canada, we venerate also the blessed Brother Andre Bessette, a man of prayer, a man and a friend of the poor, but in his own way, a striking personality. The work of his life, his long life, 91 years, was that of a poor and humble servant. Poor, servant, humble.
You know, Sean, there are people who feel that winning a football game against great odds and overcoming a dreaded disease are the same thing, a miracle.
Well, I don't know if I go that far, but I guess snatching victory from apparent defeat seems miraculous. However, both of our stories tonight shows the power of ideas and, more importantly, the power of believing. All over the world, there are people who are no longer ill because they believed in what Brother Andre did.
And Coach Don Shula shows us that believing in God and those who are around you will help to make you a winner both on and off the field.
On our next program, Reel to Reel will tell you about an organization called the Association of Christian Therapists.
We will also travel to Washington, D.C. for a visit to Luther Place Memorial Church, an outpost for the nomads of that city. In our short subjects, Liz Andre will review the animated film The Last Unicorn. And we'll hear once again from Father Walt Nolan in our Do You Know series. Reel to Reel will not be seen next week, but we will be back with all these stories on January 2nd. Meanwhile, during these holidays, why don't you take the opportunity to go visit the Our Lady of Peace statue, which was moved recently from Wilmington to the cathedral area in Philadelphia. It will be well worth your visit. Until we see you again, a very Merry Christmas.
And have a safe and happy New Year celebration. Good night.
Good night, and God bless you.